What do successful people do differently? What's unique about successful people? One of the things I've learned is that when you want to study greatness, it's so crucial to study people's daily routine. The focus is not just on, hey, what is that one day that just made it for you? It's about focusing on their daily routine. And there's certain things successful people do very differently. One of those things is that they've got an internal locus of control. What do I mean by an internal locus of control? You can either have an internal locus of control, or you can have an external locus of control, or you can be somewhere in the middle. And a lot of us are somewhere in between, right? An internal locus of control says, I shape my future. I determine my future. I'm a powerful person. I don't blame others for my behavior, and I don't give your weaknesses the power to control my behavior. I take charge of my behavior. I choose to be happy today. I choose to be full of joy today, and no one can take that from me. So as I'm driving my vehicle, if I'm going into work and the traffic begins to get a bit slow, like it usually does for those of us who live in these parts, what happens is that I've already conditioned myself that I'm going to be joyful today. Nothing in my external environment is going to affect my mood. That's the internal locus of control. I determine whether I'm going to be a success in life or I'm going to be a failure. Powerful people do that. People used to ask me the question, Paul, how is life treating you? Consistently, my response will be, I'm treating it well, thank you. When I first got married, people would say to me, Paul, how is life treating you? How's married life treating you? I'd say, I'm treating it well, thank you. I'm responsible to shape my mood. I'm responsible to shape my future. That's how powerful people think. But an external locus of control is different. External locus of control puts the power on someone else. And that's what powerless people do. And they say, how you are determines my mood. So now I'm going to try and get you to change in order for me to be happy. All right? And our goal, and we do this a lot with our spouses, is if my spouse just changes this, and this about them, because they're powerful and I'm powerless, if they just change this and this about them, then I'll be happy. And now I've given you the power to make me happy. But I choose how I'm going to be. Now, when you do this, you find that you, as a person, you're strong on cause and effect. As a business person, your mindset is, if I hire the right people, if I position them aright, then I'll be successful. But if you've got an external loss of control, you end up saying things like, man, it's terrible. This country just doesn't have enough talent. Oh, it's really bad. The people that I've got in my company, well, who hired them? Who hired them? You see, you take responsibility and you begin to say, I made a few bad choices here. I'll need to tweak it. I'll need to work on my hiring skills. I'll need to be more thorough. I'll need to work with a reputable recruitment agency. You're taking charge of your life. This is crucial if you want to be a success in life. Your leaning is way more on the internal locus of control than the external locus of control. There's a place for external locus of control. There's a place of acknowledging that there are things in our lives that are outside of our control, that are beyond us. But very often you will see that there's a link. Let me give you an example. When it comes to prospering financially, for example, do you leave it to something else completely outside yourself? And then you become like a sluggard, right? This is the type of individual who's lazy, the type of people who become very mystical about these things and kind of think success will just come to me, it'll just happen, okay? If you've got a strong internal locus control, you will read books. You will say, let me study the market. You will say, let me develop myself in terms of my credibility, in terms of my integrity, in terms of my competence. Let me work on my skills. Let me go out there and look for the business. Let me look for those targets. Let me look for those prospects. Why? Because if I do that, my behavior will determine the outcomes. Now, there might be some extraneous factors that might affect it, and I acknowledge that. But what having an internal locus control does to a person is it mobilizes you into action. Why? You're a powerful person. You recognize that if I do this, then this will happen. If I do that, then that will happen. If I mess up in this area, then these are the consequences. Basically, that I will reap whatever I have sown. That's the mindset of someone who's strong with an internal locus of control. And that's one of the things successful people do differently.